Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Welcome back. So today I want to have a play with stencils and paper and sprays and inks and just have an inky play. I was watching a video by Allison over at Words and Pictures. I'll leave a link down below. And she was playing with stencils and inks and sprays, and I was like, oh, I should pull those out and do that. And also partly because what I had been planning on doing, I can't quite do right now because my Sizzix Big Kick die cutting machine died last night. So I've got to wait till I get another die cutting machine to finish doing the die cutting that I was doing last night. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem, but fortunately it's Memorial Day weekend, so by the time this actually airs, I'll probably already have either gotten or at least ordered my new die cutting machine. So at least it's a weekend where everybody's having sales. So moving along from that, what I've got out is a bunch of different types of paper. So I've got this is Tim Holtz Ranger Distress Tags, and it's heavy weight tags for mixed media, and it's the mixed media heavy stock, and it's size number 8, which is 6 1/4 by 3 1/4. I've got this is just the Tim Holtz Ranger mixed media heavy stock, and this is 4 1/2 by 5 1/2, or 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is 1/4 of a US letter size piece of paper, which I've got some in here of that size in the Kraft heavy stock, which I cut my pages. Some of them I cut down to 6 and then if you cut a piece of US letter size down at 6, you can then get 2 3-inch tags and a 2 1/2-inch tag, and then cut the remainder into 2 4 1/4 journaling cards, or if you mix it up, which I did on one of these pieces, you get slightly different size journaling cards. And then some of the pages, what I did was I cut it down to 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, so I got 4 of those. And I think this one I cut a 6-inch piece, and then the remainder is 5, and so I cut those down into 2 3-inch tags and a 2 1/2-inch tag. I've got, this is Ranger Tim Holtz, what is it? White heavy stock, which also came in letter size, and this is where I did some wonky cutting on some of them because I wasn't paying attention. So I've got my future tags and future journaling card size pieces. And then my Canson XL Watercolor paper, which comes in 9 by 12. So when you cut it down to 6, you can get 3 3-inch tags out of each half for a total of 6 tags from one sheet of paper, or journaling cards that are 6 by, what are they? 6 by 4, I think? No, 4 1/2. That's what it is. So those are all the papers I'm using. And you will notice when you are doing especially wet techniques, what paper you use will impact the results you get, so keep that in mind. I want to do a rainbow of colors, and I've got a variety of stencils out, and I will let you know which stencil I'm using as I am using it. Because yeah, I don't even know which ones we're going to end up using today. So I'm going to set those off to the side. I'm going to grab over my first piece of paper, which is Canson XL Watercolor paper. And I forgot to mix up my Distress Oxide sprays. So we're going to mix those up, and we're going to do like our rainbow of colors. And I'm going to start with my lightest color, which is going to be yellow. Let's get these mixed up. All right, so we're starting lightest. So I've got out Distress Oxide spray and squeezed lemonade, mustard seed, and we're gonna add a little wild honey, but I think first we're gonna go with the 2 yellows, and this is pretty much all I have for yellow, other than like the Distress Spritz and mica stains, which I may pull those out. All right, so we're gonna go with that for the first one, I think. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift this up. I'm gonna set this aside. And then I'm gonna take another piece of paper and I'm gonna set it down. And I'm gonna mist this with some water and flip it over. I'm gonna take, this is a thing of labels. Figure I could use it for some cleanup as we are doing this. So I did that. Mostly so I wouldn't get my hands too messy. And I'm okay with the fact that it didn't completely cover that because we can play around and do some more stuff on there. And I think what I may do, because there's still ink on this, give it a little bit of a spritz again with just a little bit of water. See what happens if we clean up more of the ink off of here. Flip this over. Go like that. I'm just going to use a rag, which I know looks dirty, but is mostly just stained because I use it for stuff like this. Now, I wouldn't get too heavy-handed with the water on labels because they're likely to end up peeling up and not holding up as well to wet stuff, but not too bad for cleanup. And there's still ink on this. So let's grab another piece. Let's do one of the cardstock or Kraft colored. Let's spritz this, flip it over, press it down, lift up. So we got a little bit on there. I'm going to set this stencil aside, grab another stencil. Let's do a little bit of this. We'll set that over here and do a little of the wild honey. Actually, no, what we're going to do is we're going to set that one aside, do that. That one's too small. That one. All right, we're going to do a little wild honey. Wow, that one kind of exploded on my hand. So, all right, a little bit of the squeezed lemonade. And mustard. We're gonna lift this up. Woo! Get it all over our fingers. Gonna set that one aside. Give this sucker a spritz with water. And see what happens when we add this to that one, like so. I'm gonna set this aside. Grab our cleanup sheet again, because I like the idea that we're gonna have some brightly colored labels that we can then stamp on. And I don't think I even need to add more water to this. We're just gonna go like that. I'm gonna grab something else. Hold on a sec. And I am just gonna wet this and do a little cleanup on a piece of book page, because why not? Let's see. I'm gonna grab one of the heavy stock whites, put it down, put this down, and first I'm gonna go like this so I'm not so wet. I'm gonna grab a brush and do a little ink blending on it. Start with some squeezed lemonade. I'm gonna move the stencil. Ooh, and it's getting a little bit of ink from the back there. Come over here and do a little up here. Now I'm gonna go a little darker and grab mustard seed. And these are distress inks, not oxides, and just come in and add a little bit more there. And line up my stencil again. Sorry if my head was in the way, but couldn't see otherwise. I kind of like that. Just trying to decide. I think what I'm gonna do now is grab a little squeezed lemonade oxide, different brush. Come in the plain areas without the stencil. Just add a little bit more yellow. One last thing I'm going to do to this one for now is I'm going to grab a block and my fossilized amber distress oxide, put that on a block, wet it, grab a brush. This is frustrating as my splatter brush seems to have gone on a walkabout. Or it's right in front of my face and I'm just not seeing it. Also a possibility. All right, we'll use this brush. I'm just making a mess over here. And we're gonna add some of these. All right, I'm gonna set this one off to the side. We're gonna change colors. So I'm gonna have a bit of a cleanup and I'll be right back. All right, let's move on to orange. Let's not use that one. This one's bigger, yeah. I knew I had to have at least one that would cover the whole thing. And we're moving on to orange. So I am actually gonna use a little bit of the wild honey because that kind of goes along with orange as well. And then some carved pumpkin, and these are oxides. Hi, give me a minute. My dog has decided he desperately needs out. And then I have carved pumpkin in distress spray, which is going to be a little bit more intense, so I'm just going to spray it lightly. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of misting of water on this one before we lift the stencil up. And let's grab this for our flip. So by spritzing it, we made it a little bit more diffused instead of intense. Let's grab another sheet. All right, I'm gonna move this out of the way for now. Tap the sheet down here, mostly to try and keep my hands from getting too terribly messy, and then do it over here to pick up that ink. Ooh, I kind of like that. Set that aside, lift that up. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those you're not going to be able to see what it looks like until it is dry. So let's set that aside. This still has ink on it. Let's do that again. And that, like so. And I'm gonna go deal with the dog and I'll be right back. And again, I think I'm gonna do some ink blending again. So let me grab orange, which is, I got Spice Marmalade in Distress Ink. And let's try doing it in the opposite direction because I tend to do this way, so let's go this way this time. I kind of feel like I want to do like lighter versions on the empty corners. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I don't mind that there's like nothing in the very middle because I can always put a focal point there. We could always go this way, put something there. Yeah, I like that. I'm trying to decide if I want to do anything else to it or if I just want to go that simple. Again, I can always do more later, like ink heavily around the edges. Actually, maybe we'll do that. Let's go maybe a little rusty hinge around the edges. I kind of like that, and I think I want to do a little bit of splattering. I'll do it with the rusty hinge. And I did find my splatter brush. It was right in front of my face. I just had it tipped over, so it was leaning against something else instead of sitting upright, so I didn't see the brush part. And I think I'm gonna do a little bit with just straight water. Then we'll come in with our cloth and go like so. Set this aside and let it dry completely. And I'm trying to decide, I think that's all I'm gonna do. Orange. All right, let's switch colors again. I'm gonna scoot this up. I have no idea what's actually on screen. I probably should check that. So this is Simon Says Stamp, and I think this one's also a Simon Says Stamp stencil. All right, let's go pinks. Let's do, got some Kitsch Flamingo. Picked raspberry. And some Kitsch Flamingo spray. I think again I want to spritz with water before I lift up. Interesting. This we're definitely gonna have to do something with because of the line across, but it doesn't have to be right this second. All right, let's grab that and do kind of like that. All right, we're gonna set that one off to the side. And let's bring this one over and grab one of these and go like so. And then I gotta go deal with dogs because, you know, barking. That should be interesting. Now I'm sticking to a fairly monochromatic color palette for all these guys, but you obviously could mix like whatever colors you want together. But since I'm planning on doing kind of like a rainbow themed butterfly journal, I'm sticking to the rainbow of colors and kind of doing them separately. Let's do a few more pink. This, woo, woo! Things are falling all over the place. Kind of wanna do that with a blending brush, and because it's Kraft, I'm gonna do Spun Sugar and Kitsch Flamingo Distress Oxides. I'm gonna start with the Spun Sugar. Gonna do it in a few random spots and then come in with the Kitsch Flamingo. Of course, I've got a dog who's now like desperately wanting to come in. Let me go let him in, and then we're going to do something else. I'm going to move this off to the side for a minute. I'm going to grab back, or grab another piece of paper. Grab you. I'm going to grab another stencil. This one, oh, I got smudge on there. Let's just flip it. There we go. And what we're going to do is spritz it with our sprays. Getting everywhere. Light misting with water. That off to the side. Bring this guy back. Line up our stencil again. Woo! Drop the other one on me. Then we're gonna do flip. And now we're gonna lift this guy off. Not sure that that did much of anything, but hey, this is all about playing around and experimenting. This I'm gonna flip to here. I kind of like that. That needs to go onto something. Let's do that. And this. And I kind of want to come in with Spun Sugar, which is light, and do a little bit of ink blending and see what we get. See what we got. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. See what it looks like once all the ink is dry. Let's set that aside. All right, another round to clean up and we'll move on to red. All right, so next up, actually, I think I lied. I said I was going on to red, and actually I'm going to do Abandoned Coral first. I've got spray and oxide. And this one definitely feels like it should get a little misting from on high. And I believe this is a Crafter's Crafter's Workshop stencil. I'll try and double check everybody before when I post the video and put a list down below. Let's flip that onto, let's do it on this guy. And I'm okay if I get some inks on the back. Let's do a little bit there. That was not as good as I was hoping for. Let's spritz a little bit more water. That's better. Set that one aside. Let's see what happens if we just set that down there. Did pick up the shape a little bit and do it over here. There. And then stamp with the stencil again. There. And over here. That gives us very inky, not like much distinct going on, but I think once it's dry, I'm gonna come back in and do some blending on it. All right, I am gonna clean up and then I'll be back. All right, and now red, which I've got fired brick and lumberjack plaid. So this should be really interesting to see what we get mixing those two. Set it aside to dry. This and this, and it's the PM Artist Studio, and it is going to leave me lines, but we'll figure that out. And I'm actually thinking I want to spritz this. I don't wanna, no, let's just go ahead and grab another one, lift that up, and do like stamping with it. So that, and then do that. That did not work so great. Let's go the other way. Interesting. I may end up just covering that because we can of course turn this so it's that way up. Let's grab another piece of cardstock and stamp this on it again because there is still tons of ink. I want a little ink happy. All right, so it's probably needs to get a good spritz of water. All right, I need to move some stuff around because I have run out of room to put stuff to dry. I will be right back. We're gonna do one more red and we're gonna do ink blending on this one. And I'm gonna grab, what am I gonna grab? Lumberjack Plaid Distress Ink. Definitely going to not be perfect since I'm going a little rougher than I should and the stencil bits are moving because they're so delicate. And this is a memory box stencil. It's a little imperfect.
what I'm going to do is put this back on, and I'm really kind of bummed I didn't put this further down so that there wasn't that line at the bottom, but we can always just trim that off if it really bothers us later. And what I'm going to do first is spritz with a little bit of water, and I'm holding the bottle a good distance away, and I'm pulling slowly because I've got the distressed mister so that I can get big droplets of water. And I'm gonna grab the cloth and come in and do this. I think I'm gonna do a few drops of the fired brick, and I'm just gonna go, trying to decide. I think what I want to do is, instead of taking the nozzle out on the Distress Lumberjack Plaid spray, I'm going to do some of the ink on a block. And I'm also going to grab a little silicone brush thing. Not sure that I'm noticing that that did anything, but you know, hey. It's worth a shot. All right, let's pull the stencil off and see what we got. But that's kind of cool. Kind of like that. But for that white line at the bottom, which I'm kind of peeved at myself for. All right, I'm gonna set this one aside and finish cleaning this mess up and take a lunch break, and then I'll be back and we'll move into the greens, blues, and purples. Okay, I cleaned up, I'm back, we're moving on to green. Let me find the stencils again. It's a Simon Says Stamp one, and let's go on there, and we'll use a variety of greens. So I've got Stress Oxide Peeled Paint, Twisted Citron. Oh, I have two Twisted Citrons. I got a big one and a little one. I think the little one might have come in a bundle that I bought recently at Michael's that was clearance and didn't realize, and then bought, yeah, because I got the big one and the little one. Whoopsies. And then Mowed Lawn. And we'll add on top some of the spray stains. I got Shabby Shutters, Twisted Citron, and I don't think I want to do Rustic Wilderness on this one. So let's grab something we can flip that over onto. Lift that up. Set that aside. Set that down. Give a little spritz with water. Pop that down. And as I have been doing, I'm going to grab another label sheet. I think I'm pretty much using up everything in this pack today for cleanup, which is fine because, you know, it's just been sitting, taking up space in my house. Need to use the stuff we have. Went like that. That came out cool. All right, we'll set that one aside to dry. Finish doing cleanup. I think there's enough on here to stamp it again on another piece. That one's pretty cool too. Definitely think once everything's dry, we're gonna add some stuff to some of them. Maybe not today, because I have a feeling this video's becoming ridiculously long. Kind of wanna, because there's still a lot of ink on this. It got very inkies. Okay, not so much. That's all right. We can do stuff with that. All right, let's set aside that stencil. Let's do another one. Grab this guy and this stencil. Let's see what happens when we press it down, because that needs to get pressed down, I think. Flatten it out a little. That's interesting. Set that aside. At this point, I'm just gonna get some green on this one, and then we'll come back and do something else with it in a sec. All right. Okay, I'm gonna actually hit this one with my heat tool because I would like it to be drier. I'm gonna grab a brush. Let's do this one. And I've got peeled paint distress oxide. And the stencil is a Simon Says stamp. Like that. I also think what I may want to do is put the stencil on kind of in the center there and do a little spritzing of water. Didn't quite do what I wanted to do. Give it a sec. That lifted up a bit more than I was going for. So what I'm gonna do is get back in with a little twisted citron just towards the center. Like there. Oops, that's a little bit more than I wanted. And then maybe a little peeled paint. Let's see what we got now. Interesting. All right, I'm gonna set that one aside. And we're gonna change colors again. Okay, so I accidentally didn't record the last one I did, which I will show you once it's dry. But let's start again and let's do this one. And I've got salvage patina. And that's the Oxide, and some peacock feathers. Ooh, that one turns my finger blue. Do a little salvage patina spray, and very hesitant on the peacock feathers. I'm gonna hold it like up near the camera so that it doesn't and get too intense, and then spray just a little bit. Let's move her off and set that one aside. Air with water and do a flip. Ooh, I really like that one. Really like how that one came out. All right, let's set that aside. All right, I think there's enough on here to do another one. Ooh, that's kind of cool too. Really like that. All right, dog is complaining because it's raining out. He wants to go out, but he doesn't want to go out. Having a bit of a think because I don't want the harsh line I'm gonna get when I spritz this. We're gonna grab one that'll cover the whole thing. That's the downside, the fact that, here we go, we'll use this one. I tend to buy the minis in the stencils, and this one's THS034. The one I had out was THMS075. Is that they're too small for a lot of things. I think this one I may spritz with water to get it a little wetter and more moving. And then we'll grab this one and set it down over top. Ooh, I like that. I'm finding I tend to like, when I use the sprays, the one that I stamp the stencil onto better than the one I spray through, although that one came out really nice. One, because there's plenty on here to do another. I like that one too. It's always good when you're playing around with your inks to have something to clean up with and onto so that you don't waste all the lovely ink you already have out. All right, let's do a couple more in the blues and then we'll move on to purple. Let's see, let's do Peacock Distress Spray. Then Salvage Patina, and then just add a little bit of the oxides. And I kind of want to pull in a little Uncharted Mariner. This one with spray from up high. That's the spray stain. And then the oxide, I think I'm just gonna do and I'm dropping stuff everywhere. And the floor around me is like a disaster area. So same stencil, same colors, 3 different papers. So this is the Distressed Watercolor paper, or is that what it is? Whatever I said it was at the beginning. Heavy stock? I think it's the heavy stock. So that's the Distressed White Heavy Stock. This is the Canson XL Watercolor paper. And then this is the other, what is this? This is Mixed Media Heavy Stock. And I kind of like them all. All right, let me have a clean up and I'll be back. Okay, so next up is purple. And I actually only have Villainous Potion in Distressed Spray Stain and Wilted Violet and Oxide. So we're going to be very limited in our color palette. Although I did grab, I've got a Lindy Stampin' Gang Moonshadow Mist Spray in Violaceous Violet. So we'll give that one a try too. Let's start with this one. And we're going to do the arches. And we are going to spritz with our oxide first. And then let's do just a little bit of this, because Villainous Potion's another one that's intense. So not like full spritzing, I'm kind of like half spritzing. All right, then we will mist with a little water and grab another one to go over top. Ooh, I really like how that came out. That is cool. Lift that up. And that's pretty good too. All right, so let's go ahead and spritz and flip. It came out pretty good too. All right, that one we're gonna set aside. Let's clean this mess up. All right, let's do another one. okay. That one's all right. Let's see, let's go ahead and try spritzing this again and putting it on this piece, which my finger just got blue. Let's go like at an angle. That to push it down. Let's see how that came out. That's kind of cool. Kind of like that. There is a lot of ink on here. Let me clean this up and then we'll try the Vivacious Violet on one. Okay, so we're gonna do a couple more using the Lindy's Moonshadow Mist in Vivacious Violet. Let's just go ahead and use this stencil. And it's Flora and it's by Simon Says Stamp. So it's SSST221565. I'll leave a list of all of the stencils I use down below, which is going to make doing the description box so much fun. I know it's looking very, very brown. I forgot this is one that it does kind of like a blending of colors, and let's just do a quick misty mist of it. So I think we should be able to see the purple more once it's dry, I'm not mistaken. So I think this one, the purples is in the mica of it, and then the ink is more of a brown. So we're gonna set that one aside. Gonna have a bit of a cleanup and we'll do one more stencil. All right, and then I've got this is Crafter's Workshop one. There we go. And if I had more papers, I would spritz this and flip this, but I don't have any more papers cut. I do have a scrap that I can do it onto. So let's do, I'm gonna mist that a little bit. I'm gonna clear off some of the ink on here, just using a piece of vintage antique book page. I don't even remember. And then we're gonna stick this down, and I'm okay that I'm gonna get stuff on the back. And just set that down on the top. And maybe set it down over here. Get a little bit over there, and we'll set that aside to dry, and I'll have a bit of a cleanup, and once everything's dry I'll show you what we did. Okay, so we're done, and I may have gone a little overboard. So many backgrounds. All right, so we've got our yellow, which I did a whole lot of yellow, which since I don't tend to use a ton of yellow, I don't know what I was thinking when I went quite that overboard with doing yellow. We've got orange. I really like this one. I need to do more like this. We've got red and pinks. Another pink one. Goodness. Oh, some of these are coral. So like these I think are abandoned coral, and I don't even remember at this point because it's been a little while since I started filming this. What colors I've used, what techniques I've done. Then we've got greens. Blues. I really like how that one came out. I think that was stamping with the stencil. So many backgrounds. So very many backgrounds. Goodness gracious, I went a little overboard. I feel like these might be cracked pistachio because I did some cracked pistachio off screen. Those are cracked pistachio. That might be salvage patina. I think these are the cracked pistachio that I did off camera because I thought things were getting a little out of hand. There's our purple. This one came out cool. I like that. And then these are the ones I did with the Lindy Stampin' Gang spray, and I don't know how well it's showing up on screen, but there's a shimmer to it, and the shimmer's purple. So yeah, there's those. So we made, let's see, I don't even know how many backgrounds that is. Okay, so here are our rainbow of backgrounds, and there are 57 of them. I may have gone a little overboard. Oh, and what's really scary is, so the next project I want to do, I need my new die cutting machine to come in, and it hasn't come in yet. So I've been working on doing more backgrounds because I figured I'd just do a series of videos doing inky backgrounds. Yeah, and there's now 57 of these and a whole ridiculous ton of the next video's backgrounds. So yeah, so that's all for today. So if you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.